Hi, and welcome to the podcast, Jerome. How are you
Hi.
today?
Yeah, I'm okay, thank you. How's your day going?
My day's going fine. I'm going to see my eldest daughter swimming after this. So I'm both looking forward for this conversation and for her swimming.
Sure. How old's your daughter?
She is soon 4.
Okay. So mine was 14 yesterday. It
Oh,
was her 14th birthday.
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Big girl, big girl.
Yeah.
So who is Jerome? Tell the audience.
Okay, so shall we start at the beginning of my property journey?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm 48 years old. I'm from London originally, and I now live in Manchester in England. I've been in property since 1994, where I started out in a firm of estate agents in central London, where I made the tea and did the photocopying. I don't know whether they have such jobs anymore, but that's how it started. And I did a couple of years there where I was never allowed to really progress because I think back then it was like a different culture with the work, that you were sort of held back until they felt you were ready, even if you thought you were. It's different. Things have changed. Things have modernized. So I set up my own estate agency in central London in 1997. I was 24 at that point. I did not have a plan. I didn't have a business model. I had no 3-year cash flow. I didn't have a clue what any of those things were. I just knew that if I could find a shop front in a good location in central London, then I had enough knowledge, or so I thought, to be able to do this for myself.
Yeah.
And I set up a business. It was a residential estate agency, same model as it is today. This was before widespread use of emails and before people really had smartphones, okay? So I sound really old when I talk like this, but that's just the reality of it. It was just a different way of doing business. The difference was, sorry, go on.
No. So yeah. So I was wondering, just quick before I forgot the question, and sorry for cutting you off. Very interesting story. So if you prefer do you prefer the old way or the new way doing business before you progress?
The old way gives you more freedom in your life. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it has become a 24/7 platform, right? You know, it's like people talk about, oh, I don't work 24 hours. But then if we move into the digital business and a page on Instagram, and then all the stuff that comes with that and where you want to go with that, I don't have any preference. I like the fact you can do deals quicker now.
Yeah.
But I like the freedom of that when I finished work, no one could get hold of me.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I think it was 1995 when I got a mobile, but it wasn't a smartphone.
Yeah.
They didn't exist. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, you may carry on.
It's okay. So I rented a shop front in central London, just off Baker Street. So right in the middle.
Wow.
The rent was £10,000 a year. I got the change of planning use. That was my first experience of planning, where you had to change the use to the relevant use class for estate agency or professional services, which was A2. That's what the use class was. I got someone to put a nice sign up outside the big window, and I was on my own for 6 months. I then got a business partner. I then got a couple of staff in, and we built a residential estate agency. over a 9-year period. What I'm going to say might be controversial, but I believe it's very difficult to make money in estate agency now.
Yeah.
I actually believe that it's a race to the bottom, not a race to the top. I don't see how people can make money with these ridiculously low commission rates that they charge.
Yeah.
But these are just my opinions on this podcast, right? I mean, I have friends that are still estate agents and that own estate agencies, and I know the struggle.
Yeah.
I think if you're high end and you're very specialist, or you have enough marketing budget behind you, you can make money. But trying to make money charging clients 1% to sell their property or less, I don't see how that works. But
how much did they charge before then?
So we would charge between 2 and 3%.
Yeah, that's different.
and actually, having had a bit of experience of living in South Africa for a couple of years and bought and sold property there, the standard fee in America and South Africa is between 4 and 6%.
Okay.
Which is, I guess, when you look at programs like Selling Sunset on Netflix, I don't know whether you've seen it, right?
Yeah, I've seen one or two.
Right. So in other words, if you're selling a unit in Beverly Hills for $3 million, and then you're charging a 4% commission, it's $120,000. There's money in it.
Yeah, that's money. Definitely. I'm with you.
So built the estate agency up, managed a lot of residential properties before all the red tape came in. Landlords licensing schemes, ombudsman, National Association of Letting Agents, deposit protection schemes. It was completely different.
Yeah. Are you for it or are you against it?
I'm completely for regulation.
Yeah.
I think regulation is important because you don't need qualifications to go into property, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You can be doing something completely different and tomorrow go into property, right?
Yes.
And so I think regulation is very important, but I wonder how much time an estate agent spends on the regulation now. Does it actually take them away from doing deals?
Yeah.
So we built that up. We managed, I think, over about 100 properties at its peak. So we do residential sales, lettings, and residential property management. I came out of it. I sold the business, and I then went to work in the city of London, the Square Mile, as it's called.
Yeah.
As in commercial property for a firm of chartered surveyors, so Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. I'd never been in that environment, heavily regulated, very corporate. And for people that don't know, the RICS, Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, is the gold standard in property in this country.
Wow.
For surveyors and valuers and people that are in the industry. So it was a very well-paid position. I had a young family at this point, and then I woke up one morning and the whole world had changed. Kind of a bit like COVID. It was the credit crunch and the collapse of Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns, and Northern Rock, and bank interventions here, which had never really happened before. And I went into work on a Monday morning and they said that your position has been terminated. And that was the first time that I'd had to think about where I really want to go in life.
Yeah.
My second child had just been born. She was eight months old at that point. I'd had 2 kids and a wife, and my income had stopped. So
Yeah.
I then started to get a bit of focus and purpose where I want to go. And I managed to get hold of some money through investors that were friends and started buying and selling individual units in London, but zone 5 and zone 6, which is like, you'd call it the suburbs, the outer areas, because those were the only areas that I could afford to do this.
Yeah.
And that was my first experience of trading, flipping an asset.
Yeah.
Where, and I suppose development, so put a kitchen in, put a bathroom in, put some laminate wooden floor down and some IKEA furniture, right?
Yeah.
And sell it for a profit.
Yeah.
And I then got approached. So fast forward to 2013 at this point, it was going okay. I wouldn't say that it was making exceptional money. It was all right, but it wasn't satisfying where I wanted to go. It wasn't satisfying my hunger and my ambition.
Yeah.
And I got a call from someone I'd known for a long time. 2013 was the beginning of the relaxation of planning regulations in this country, specifically around permitted development, which you hear a lot of people talking about now all the time. Office to residential, commercial to residential. The reality is the process began in 2013.
Yeah.
There was a 3-year window that they brought in, and we started at the beginning of that window, where the brief was get as many office buildings as possible in England and go and get permitted development and convert them into residential apartments.
Yeah.
Now, just to kind of clear up a few things that people might be thinking about, people have been converting commercial buildings to other uses for decades. All that's happened now is it is easier to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's nothing new, but it's quicker, and therefore you can earn your money quicker and refinance quicker.
Yeah.
That's what changed. So we delivered a couple of 100 units in a 2-year period in a number of office buildings by getting permitted development in 56 days.
Wow.
You still need to get full planning permission if you're making changes to the outside of the buildings or landscaping or putting cladding on, so it doesn't just look like an ugly office building. People are going to live in it. Yeah. So it's not just about getting permitted development. I did that for a couple of years. I was living in Scotland doing that in just outside Edinburgh. At this point, I'd got divorced and I had my kids with me.
Okay.
So I was a single dad at this point.
Yeah.
Trying to focus on making money, but not losing sight of what life is really about.
Yeah.
Okay, because I think people get hung up on that and people lose focus of what really does matter.
Yeah.
We can cover that.
Yeah.
If you want to.
Yeah.
And I set up on my own the end of 2014. And what I understood when I was working with these people, I was doing the office to residential permitted development deals, was how to scale.
Yeah.
And how scaling it's all in the mind.
Yeah.
And how if you can't scale or get critical mass or volume, I don't believe you can make money.
Yeah.
We all have a different measure of what money we want to make and earn and what we need. And that's a very personal thing. But my experience is it's the same expertise to get planning for 5 houses as it is for 50 houses.
Yeah.
It's the same expertise to buy 1 house as it is to buy 10. It just costs more.
Yeah.
And I believe that's in the mind.
I agree with you. I have the same belief.
Yeah. So I started buying land without planning permission. Acknowledging,
sorry again. Where are we now?
2000, the end of 2014.
Okay.
So at this point, I'd covered almost everything there was to do in property, apart from scale, land flipping and development. Yeah, the development was the office to residential, but I hadn't really done the land flipping at this point. Getting permitted development is easy. Getting planning permission on a piece of land is harder and more expensive.
Yeah.
So the model is and was to add value by buying sites without planning permission, which is what I do now. And just like anything, it's very high pressured, it's very stressful. If you don't get planning, you potentially have a problem.
Yeah. What
you do with it. I like risk.
Yeah.
If you don't like risk and are not comfortable with risk, what we do now isn't for you.
No.
And buying land without planning gives you 2 exit strategies. The one is you get your planning and you flip, or the other is you get your planning and you build out.
Yeah.
I've never bought anything that has planning permission.
No. Why, if I may ask?
Because I'm not going to pay someone else for what I can do.
Good answer. So if we move on regarding whatever you've done, a lot of stuff. If you could choose, which one do you like most? I think I know the answer, but I still need to ask you it.
So I like land flipping.
Yeah.
Better than anything. Is that what you thought?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, because you said you like the risk and all of this. But I also understand that the reward is much, much higher when you get the planning, obviously, because you've taken something that was nothing to something.
Sure. I mean, as I've got older, I've realized I don't want to get my hands dirty. And, I've built new build. I've done office to resi. I've built stuff. I've created homes.
Yeah.
But that carries its own risk.
Yeah.
Obviously, are you going to sell them? You're borrowing development finance. How are you going to repay it? Is something going to happen in the market that sinks it? Like COVID, whatever. You can't legislate and plan for everything. I'd like to take a margin and move on to the next deal. Yeah.
Okay. So could you go through how you do land flipping, like the steps? Just simple. You don't need to go in very detail. Otherwise, it would be very long.
Sure. So the first step before you even submit the offer is knowing how to analyze the site.
Yeah.
Do we know what it's worth without planning and with planning? That's step 1.
Yeah.
A deal is only a deal when you've submitted an acceptable offer and you have exchanged contracts and then proceed to completing the purchase. That's a deal.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything else before that is an opportunity.
Yeah.
There are a number of different types of purchasing contracts that can be utilized, which de-risk your buying risk. option agreements, conditional contracts. You can buy sites subject to getting planning permission. Still carries risk. You're paying for the planning. You'll probably need a deposit on exchange of contracts, and you've got legal costs as well. So there's still risk, but you're not having to buy it before you get planning. So those are a typical flavor of how it's possible to do it without vast pots of money, because there's this misconception with ground up or new build development and land flipping that you need a large pot of money to begin with. There's plenty of money out there. There's never been more money.
Yeah, that's true.
If there's a shortage of deals.
Yes, that's
true. There's not a shortage of money.
That's so
okay, and actually it's always been like
that. So let's go to pros and cons with this strategies. I know you mentioned that it's very risky, but is there anything else? And the pros, obviously.
So the pros are the potential capital gain. So let's be clear, this is a capital strategy.
Yeah.
This is not an income strategy. And the pros are that the capital you can earn off a land flip and or a land development deal far outweigh what you can pull out of a refinance on a small portfolio of buy-to-lets.
Yeah.
I know that because I have evidence of that. It also gives you control.
Yeah.
So if you know how to get planning permission, which we do quite well, it gives you control. So another pro is you can shape what you want on that site. You could even go and get your exit before you put planning permission in. So that's a pro. You can still de-risk, in the same way people might put a 5-year lease in place with a supported housing provider.
Yeah.
This is no different. It's just bigger numbers. You can go and secure your exit to a house builder, a care home operator, a housing association. You say, right, we've got this site. What do you want?
Yeah.
And then you go into planning with the scheme they want, which means that you de-risk the planning risk because you've got your buyer at the end of it. So that's a huge pro.
Yeah.
But let's always look at downsides. I think it's important. In this society we live in, I don't believe people want to talk about downsides and negatives.
Yeah.
Because of Instagram and whatever, and Facebook and social media, it's the thing you got to do is you got to make out as though everything's okay, a rosy. Yeah. Without having to tell people what really goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So the disadvantages is what happens if you don't get planning permission.
Yeah.
You then go to appeal, which is another cost.
Yeah.
What happens if there's a change of planning policy within the local authority area? Suddenly overnight. I mean, if that's happened, it means you haven't done your due diligence properly.
Yeah.
But there's always going to be things outside your control.
Yeah.
And then another downside to it, no different to any other property strategy. It's the stress until it becomes real. For me, I like the chase.
Yeah.
I like the chase of getting the deal, getting the planning permission.
Yeah.
That's more exciting to me. When you sell it, it's an anticlimax. You've already put work in, haven't you? You kind of already know that's where it's going. It's the chase.
I like the chase as well. So how do you know which piece of land is a good investment?
So we have a target list. We have a database of every county in England which has taken 2 years to create. And in it, we have all the cities and towns within all those counties, which have a GDV, gross development value. So the value of the finished product.
Yeah.
And it has to be over the average national house price in those areas. And that goes on our list, and that's what we target.
Okay. Very, very good system that you have got there. So where do you find the deals? Is it on websites or is it through that list that you mentioned?
So we run a very big direct to vendor campaign every month, every week, which is, has a very low hit rate. This is a numbers game.
Yeah.
Property is a numbers game. Because I've been around for quite a few years, I'm fortunate enough to get opportunities from people off market. Let me just talk about off market very quickly and just kind of squash the misconceptions or explain what I believe off market is. It's an opportunity that has not been advertised. Okay. So, and you're getting first crack at it. Yeah. So they might call you up and go, right, I've got this site. The guy, the people want to sell. I'll give you a couple of weeks at it first before we put it on the market. That's off market.
Yeah.
We don't get involved in best bids, tenders, informal offer things and all the such like when we're up against 5 people.
Yeah.
I've done that and it never ends well.
For you or for them?
in my experience, I've been in those best bid scenarios when you have to submit a sealed bid or the agent's using your offer to get a higher offer out of someone else. I've done that. It's never worked for me. So we just don't do it.
Yeah. Okay. So important things to think of when you're doing your due diligence and analyze. What is that?
Okay, so the first thing I'll look at is the GDV, so gross development value, so the comparable evidence of sales. I believe the only comparable evidence are sales.
Yeah.
I don't believe available properties is comparable evidence. But if that's all you've got, you work with that. Then I'll look at the planning. Can we get planning permission on it? Speak to the planning consultant. Is it in a flood risk area? Is it greenbelt? So if it's greenbelt, or if it's in a flood risk area, or the GDV is not high enough per square foot or per square meter, it's off the list.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 basic drivers for buying land.
Okay.
GDV, flood risk, greenbelt. That's in our world. Okay. Yeah. That's what I do. If those 3 are okay, then we go to the next stage.
Yeah.
Can we get planning permission? If so, for how many units?
Yeah.
And then is it possible to get in and out of the site? What's the access like? Is it near a train station or an underground or a tram or a bus stop?
Yeah.
And then you go into local schools, local supermarkets, amenities, parks, gyms, because that will shape your exit strategy. Are you building for older people or younger families?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
So what are the common mistakes people make when doing this?
Not doing enough due diligence and knowing how to do it. There are too many people chasing opportunities that have no margin.
Yeah.
And the reason why they're chasing those slim or negligible margin opportunities is because they don't know how to analyze the deal.
Yeah.
And the reason they don't know how to do their due diligence is because they've never been shown how to do it.
Yeah. Then it's good that you can teach them. But we'll come into that later.
Sure.
So let's say if you're a young guy or girl wanted to start the property journey, what strategy would you suggest? Do you think this would maybe be a strategy, or yeah, what strategy would you suggest?
Okay, so the sort of stuff that we do as a company isn't something that a new entrant into property would be looking to get into unless they're around the right people.
Yeah.
If they've got the right people around them, everything's doable.
Yeah.
I can't provide my opinion on a lot of the strategies that people talk about today, like rent to rent. I think I know what it is. I don't have an opinion on it because I only have opinions on things I've done and have experience of.
Yeah.
You know, I get contacted regularly by people that have small buy-to-let portfolios who then want to take it to the next step, which is development.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know that we're like in a booming market. No one can say anything about that. What should you focus on during a booming market?
It's focus on what you're trying to do. Because, you know, I have this mantra, it doesn't matter what market I'm in, I mustn't lose sight of what I'm trying to do. Mm-hmm. So if you're a buy-to-let investor and you're trying to acquire 3 houses a year, you still go and do that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm encountering the same problems as everyone else.
Yeah.
Okay. In fact, because of construction costs increasing substantially, let's call it 30% in 12 months. It's big. It's a thing. No one's talking about it. Yeah. No one's really talking about it. But I tell you one thing, the cost of land hasn't gone down by 30%. The cost of a house in Liverpool hasn't gone down by 30%. So it's remaining focused, not listening to the noise.
Yeah. Good advice.
Too much noise.
Yeah. Good advice. Very good advice. So tell me about the education that you can teach people about this strategy, because it's very interesting. And I mean, if they want to pursue it, they should, like you mentioned, go to someone who's both doing it and can teach them.
Okay. Let me just talk about property education very quickly. Until March 2020, I knew nothing about property education in the UK or the world. Okay. I'm entirely self-taught. I have never been on a course. And what happened was during the first COVID lockdown stuff, 2020 now, I started getting messages from younger people talking about how they'd spent 5, 10, 15,000 pounds on a course.
Yeah.
Now I understand that these courses might be perfectly okay. And if you don't follow through on it, then I understand you're probably doing yourself a disservice. But I saw there was a gap in the market for property development.
Yeah.
Property development, very quickly, in my world, is creating something.
Yeah.
It's building something from nothing.
Yeah.
It's taking a building and making 20 flats, or buying a piece of land and building 10 houses. That for me is development. So I created my own 10-module property development training program last year, middle of last year, covering all aspects of new build and conversion development.
Yeah.
Based on my own experience of my career.
Yeah.
And each module has a logical progression from mindset all the way through to marketing, the development and marketing yourself.
Yeah.
Understanding how to raise bridging and development finance, which are the two products when you're a property developer. Bridging, development finance. How do you get planning permission? What contract you use? How do you set a company up?
Yeah.
What is construction?
Yeah.
And it takes the clients through the journey of that process. And that's something I focus on a handful of days per month.
Yeah.
I wanted to make it affordable and real because I want to help people.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, it's like the only way I learned was by making expensive mistakes.
Yeah.
And there's been loads of them. It's just all that happens. The older you get, the less mistakes you make.
Yeah. Sad it couldn't be the other way around.
it's a real shame, but you know, it's that thing about, I actually believe that until you make a mistake, I'm not sure whether you can learn.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, it's a different culture. People are very fortunate now. They have access to really the answers to anything.
Yeah. That's so true. That's so true. Yeah, okay. So what is the name of, how can, I mean, are you going to say the name of, or should we take it in the end?
Sure. So you can go on my Instagram page, Property Planning Game, click the link in the bio to book a 15-minute discovery call with me if you're interested in becoming the next generation of property developers in this country. And it's 2 days of face-to-face learning, one-to-one with me.
Yeah.
Including case studies, PowerPoints, infographics, downloadable resources. And the magic is the half an hour lifetime accountability each week with me on the phone.
Oh, wow.
So you have access to me for the rest of your life for half an hour a week.
Wow.
So because what I've learned with a lot of these courses going on in this country is that if you don't have accountability and you can't go back to the education provider, how are you going to know what you're doing?
Yeah. Yeah, that's good of you doing that. And I feel I can just imagine that people like that they appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna move on to my questions that I always ask my guests. So one book that you recommend to your children, obviously you have two, and it doesn't have to be property.
Okay, so I've always encouraged my kids to read, because let's just give you a little bit of context into reading, right?
Yeah.
Because people read less now.
Yes.
Because you don't need to read. You can listen like this.
Yeah.
and you know, everything's available audio. Okay.
Yes.
So I've always tried to push the kids into the realms of reading autobiographies about people that have done it.
Yeah.
Not theory books. So whether it's Tyson Fury, Eddie Hearn, Alan Sugar, Richard Branson,
yeah,
Elon Musk, could be Bruce Springsteen, Elton John, whatever you want, you know, whatever you like.
Yeah.
That's what I've always encouraged, and that's what I read.
Yeah. Yeah. Good choices. And one book for every investor.
So I read a book called by Malcolm Gladwell, which is the story of success. Outliers, it's called. Okay, so it's not a property specific book, but I tell you why it's relevant to property investment. I've never read a property book because I'm self-taught.
Yeah, I'm
not going to be foolish enough to say I know everything, because far from it. I actually don't know much, and we're always learning. But this book, Outliers, by Malcolm Gladwell, is the story of success and how you can achieve it by doing things out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Okay, so it could be Michael Jordan. It could be Elon Musk.
Yeah.
It's people that have made a difference to their lives and people's lives by taking a risk. And the reason why I believe it's relevant in property is because we use the term outlier when we're looking at buying a site.
Yeah.
I will look at a site that lies outside of the normal convention, that might be what other people don't target, that other people can't see the angle. That's an outlier.
Yeah.
Could be something that sits outside the town centre, outside the city centre. Great book, great read, real life case studies on people that have been successful by doing stuff that no one thought was possible.
Yeah.
And that comes into self-belief, doesn't it?
Exactly.
And then it comes into, where do you want to go in life?
Yeah. Yeah. So, Jerome, do you want to cover something else that I've missed?
Okay, so let's talk very briefly about social media.
Yeah,
it's a subject close to a lot of people's hearts now, and I'm a relatively new entrant into it.
Yeah.
And it's an incredibly powerful tool if it's utilized in the right way.
Yeah.
And part of what we do on our marketing module of the development training program is talk about how you can use social media and digitalization to grow your business.
Yeah.
I believe it's probably one of the greatest inventions of all time. I believe it's up there with things like steam power and electricity.
Yeah, I'm with you. I totally agree with you.
But it is the Wild West.
Yeah.
It is the biggest unpoliced network on the planet.
Yeah.
It's not policed.
No.
And this is why the stuff happens that we all know about, the mis-selling.
Yeah.
The ungenuine information. I just urge people to. So before we deal with anyone, we do a forensic check on the individual.
Could you walk me through it?
So like when you approached me,
yeah.
Okay, I looked at who you'd had on.
Yeah.
And I'd listened to them.
Yeah.
And I then researched those people you'd had on.
Yeah.
And that's the level that we go to. Yeah. It's no different from doing DD on a deal.
Yeah. And I did the same on you.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Okay. And it goes as far as Companies House and websites and testimonials and reviews and we would just please be careful. That's what I'm telling or suggesting to people.
Yeah, that's very, very good ending that you're saying that. So listeners and people who are looking at this, because me and my fiance always point out that do due diligence on people, because there's so many scammers in this day and age. That's the downside with social media.
Yeah, for example, I've just ordered some hoodies for the training business, some merch, right? It's like I need to copy what everyone else is doing. I get it. Okay. Yeah. Get like the branded hoodies. Yeah. So we've just ordered some, spent a week doing the research, 5 days. Someone who works with me, half an hour a day, all the companies, all the testimonials. Are they genuine? Is it real? What's the quality of the hoodie? Does the logo look right? Is it the right size? That's how we live our life.
Yeah. So Jerome, if people want to get hold of you, how can they reach out?
Go on propertyplanninggain.co.uk. My mobile number's on that, because I believe in being available for everyone.
Yeah.
They can book the discovery call by clicking a number of links on that propertyplanninggain.co.uk.
Yeah.
They can slide me a DM on Instagram, and yeah.
So thank you very much for all of this information. And I've learned a lot, and I know that the listeners and the viewers have learned a lot. And I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for asking me to come on it, and I hope you enjoy your daughter's swimming lessons later.
I will. It's her first time doing on her alone. So the mom is very like scared. Oh, we're leaving her alone.
But it's all good for her own journey, right?
Yes, it is. You need to let them go.
Correct. And that's the same as deals. You have to be prepared to let go of a deal if it doesn't work.
Exactly.
It's the same principles. It's all the same. Okay.
Okay, Jerome. People, don't be stressed. Invest. Bye.